Take it away, Girls Who Code.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Is my screen sharing correctly? Can you see that first slide?
Yes, you are good on screen sharing.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that this is the last session of the day, so I'll make sure to kind of go through the materials you need and similarly make sure to leave my contact information at the end. I just want to make a quick note that at the end there will be a link where you can sign up, and I'd be happy to send the deck as well as other resources in a follow-up email to you after the session, so no need to feel like you have to jot everything down right now. But with that, I will get started. So I want to welcome you all. My name is Kibret. I'm a Community Partnerships Manager at Girls Who Code, which means that I work with school districts, library networks, and nonprofit community-based organizations to bring our free curriculum to their students. I always try to start with the problem that we're trying to solve at Girls Who Code to give you a little context for why Girls Who Code began and what our work is driving towards. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the challenge as we see it. Today, only 24% of tech employees are women compared to 37% in 1995, and that number is predicted to decline to 22% by 2025. Right now, only 19% of students who receive degrees in computing are women, and only 2% of students receiving degrees in computing are women of color. When we leave women out of these economic opportunities, we really miss out on their talents, innovation, and the diverse thought of half the population. Which brings me to the Girls Who Code mission and vision. At Girls Who Code, we are the international nonprofit leading the movement to close this divide, to close this gender gap. We imagine a world where our computer science classrooms are as diverse as our local communities and where women in computing have a real sisterhood to lean on, and a sisterhood that can create real change. We are trying to change the gender gap in tech through our free and flexible computer science programs, which I will go over today. First, I'd like to start by noting who we serve. In our programs, we believe that all girls have the ability to change the world through code, and we aim to serve girls, all girls, but especially those who are underrepresented in computer science in terms of race, creed, or background, those who identify as female regardless of their gender assignment at birth or legal recognition, those who are free and reduced lunch eligible, and those who have little to no access or exposure to computer science education. For our clubs program, we welcome club members of all genders. Of course, we are Girls Who Code, and our curriculum and our materials are focused on a girls first mentality and a girls first leadership mindset, but boys are more than welcome to join these clubs, especially if this is the only type of computer science programming that is offered locally, either through their school or through their community. We certainly don't want them to miss out on that opportunity. With that, I just want to briefly go over clubs program logistics. In our program model, we offer two types of free curriculum, one for 3rd through 5th graders and one for 6th through 12th graders. It's important to note that the 3rd through 5th grade model and curriculum is really designed as an introduction to computational thinking. It's kind of the basics, and the 6th through 12th grade curriculum is far more robust and comprehensive. For our 6th to 12th grade clubs, they typically meet for 10 or more sessions for about 1 to 2 hours per session. Typically, folks choose to do our curriculum over a semester, but you can be stretched over a full year as we have about 120 hours of free content that you can use per session. Our 3rd through 5th grade clubs are a bit shorter, going from about 5 or more sessions at 45 to 60 minutes per session. And again, all of this is a kind of initial recommendation, but we really encourage folks to set the pace based on their students' needs and their capabilities. If you find that your students are really quick to the curriculum, you can certainly move a little bit faster. If you find that it's helpful for your students to go a bit slower, especially now as clubs are likely all meeting virtually and it might take a bit more time to get through material, then it's completely fine to amend this schedule and just kind of set your own pace. What you need to start a club. It's actually very simple. To get started, you need a not-for-profit space like a library. We also typically host clubs at schools, and again, as I mentioned, nonprofit organizations. It just can't be a for-profit space. Of course, now this can be in person or virtual, and for virtual clubs, there's really no difference. You can use our curriculum virtually as easily as you could in person, since our resources are all online. Second, you'll need technology and internet connection for each club member. It's important to note that our curriculum is compatible with PCs, Macs, and Chromebooks. iPads are also possible, but can be used only for our beginner self-guided tutorials in the coding language Swift. And again, if any of this material feels like it's going over your head or it's not familiar, I can send all of this after the presentation and kind of walk you through some of the specifics of our resources. But essentially for the 6th through 12th grade clubs, all the students need a computer. For the 3rd through 5th grade clubs, they actually don't need access to tech because it follows a picture book model, and so they can follow along with a book. And then finally, you just need a facilitator and a decision maker. These are just the folks who Girls Who Code can connect with, the adults who will be leading the club sessions. A facilitator is someone who's actually leading the day-to-day sessions and clubs with students. And a decision maker can be someone who might be a library administrative person who wouldn't necessarily be working with the students directly, but would need to have some sort of oversight over the program. And so that can be the same person, or it can be two different people. And a facilitator just needs to be 18 years or older. And if they are employed by the library, then we know that they already have gone through a background check, and so they won't need to. But if they are someone who's a volunteer, but who will be either using a library space in person, then we would need to run a background check, essentially for any adult who would be involved in the club who isn't employed by the library. And so now that we've talked about what it takes to start a club, I would love to kind of share what we do to support you. So I like to say that if you have those three things, a space, tech, and someone to lead the clubs, then we really do provide everything else. Our goal is to mitigate the amount of time that these clubs take, and we really appreciate that this is a commitment to take on. Of course, you can amend it so that it fits your schedule, and you can have small clubs with a reduced number of students if you feel like that's a good place to start. But we still know that it's a time commitment, it's an energy commitment, and so we appreciate that and want to provide all the other materials that you need. So we support you with club logistics by providing customizable club meeting guides. These are just pre-prepared lesson plans, so you don't really have to prep ahead of your club sessions. We also offer virtual facilitation resources that kind of teach you about best practices if you're going to be launching a club virtually, as well as recruitment toolkits, so we can help provide content, media, collateral if you're looking to recruit students or to recruit facilitators to launch these clubs. We offer tons of online trainings and tutorials to help you build your own CS skills. If there's one thing you take away from today, please, I hope you take away that you do not need to have a CS background to run a Girls Who Code club. The overwhelming majority of club facilitators are folks who have never, dabbled with CS, with coding, and who are kind of taking this opportunity to learn something themselves. And with Girls Who Code support, you really can't go wrong. You can always ask us questions about the curriculum or about implementing it. And then lastly, that third tier there at the bottom, we really value community. These clubs are not just for teaching coding. They are designed to be a safe and inclusive space for girls to feel confident and to learn some skills that go hand in hand with these coding skills. We really appreciate that gender gap that I mentioned at the top, and we really want girls to feel that they have the right to take up spaces in this industry, and that they have the confidence and the bravery to kind of lead the charge in that sense. Currently, we have a great clubs presence in the state with close to about 200 clubs, but they are mostly in schools. And so I hope that the material that I've shared here kind of helps make you think about how you can bring the curriculum to a library or to a virtual library setting. And so finally, with that, I'll just end on this last slide about how to get started. It's really very simple in terms of the logistics of starting a club. I would recommend that after today's session, if you're interested, just create an HQ account at hq.girlswhocode.com. kibret.yebetit.com. That's our just like online portal with all the resources. Anyone who is involved in a Girls Who Code club will create an account, both students and the facilitator. It's free. You just need an email address. And if you create that account today, you will have access to a curriculum preview. So you'll see a little bit of that 120 hours of content that I described. And I think it might be a nice way to get familiar with our curriculum and see if it feels appropriate or relevant for your students. And then if you find that it is something you'd like to implement, then you would simply complete a clubs application on that same website. And once you complete the clubs application, it's not really a commitment to be running your club the next day. We understand that these things take time. And so submitting an application just means that you intend to use our resources and that you would like to incorporate them in some way. A lot of folks who can't commit to a formal club will simply access the resources so that they can supplement other existing programming. If you already have some sort of STEM programming and have students gathered in some way, you might want to just take pieces of our curriculum and supplement what you already have going on in an effort to still bring these resources to your students without having to dedicate that time to a formal club every week, especially if you don't know that you would have a consistent group of students on a weekly basis to meet with. Of course, that's our preference and what we hope you can do, but we understand that this semester, and I'm sure into the spring, it will be a lot of adapting and kind of being nimble. And so our real goal is that you have access to the curriculum and the resources. And so today, like I said, I encourage you to go to hq.girlswhocode.com to get that curriculum preview. And then from there, you can sign up to actually launch a club. And so with that, this is the last slide. As I mentioned, you can go to that bit.ly link, gwc@kyac, to sign up, and I'm happy to provide a copy of this slide deck as well as other resources in a follow-up email. And I would also be happy to speak one-on-one with anyone who's interested but has more questions. And you can also feel free to email me. My email is there as well. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions that might have popped into the chat.
Kibret, I do have a question, just for folks who may not be as familiar with Girls Who Code. Do you have any examples of a type of project that a student has worked on that they were able to maybe do over the course of those 10 or 12 sessions for the club, just so people have an idea of what someone might achieve using this?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. If you go to our website, girlswhocode.com/project gallery, you'll see a gallery of all of the kind of culminating projects that Girls Who Code Club members work on. The curriculum is designed, definitely its focus is on coding, but there is a big focus on using that coding for impact or for some sort of social change. And so while the girls are going through the coding tutorials on a weekly basis, they are working on an overall impact project. So they identify an issue either in their community that they want to solve or that they want to address through the skills that they're learning. So I think some fun examples are things like students building video games or apps and things like that. And it gets as serious as students really grappling with like social issues they see, climate change, creating websites to list out or compile resources for their community to, address climate change and other social issues. So I think those are some of the types of projects that we most commonly see. It's like apps, video games, and websites.
Excellent. Those are wonderful examples. So thank you for sharing that. And we've given some links there in the chat. So
thank you.
This is your last call. If anyone has any questions for Kibret, please go ahead and type those in. We've got a couple minutes left, and there may be some libraries on that already participate in Girls Who Code.
That's great.
I know we've had probably 10 to 15 different libraries participate in any given year. So we've done some webinars in the past where we've seen some examples of projects.
That's really great to hear. Yeah, and for those, if folks have already created an account maybe in the past but not actually gotten to launching a club, you can do it at any time. We're very flexible with that timeline, and we know that folks might decide to start a club this month but can't actually start running the club until later in the semester. That's completely fine. You can condense it if you want to just do it for the tail end of the semester. I think the key word is just like flexible. It's a plug and play curriculum, so you can fit it into whatever schedule you have available to you.
And then I think our other moderator may chime in with a question that's come in the chat to close us out.
No, I was just going to say thank you. This is really interesting.
Oh, I'm
Excellent.
glad. Yeah, thank you all. And feel free to email me directly. As I said, I'm happy to talk one-on-one with folks about the specific needs of your community.
Do you have a list of schools participating so we don't compete with them?
That's a good question. So when you complete the clubs application, there's a question that asks if folks are comfortable having their club listed. And so on our website, there is a clubs locator. So you could see the clubs that have opted in to be publicly listed there. But again, also if we spoke, one-on-one, I'd be happy to kind of just double check with other facilitators. You can always co-lead. It doesn't have to just be one person. So if there's interest already or folks who've already done this, you might just want to expand a club rather than start a new one.
And Shannon said that they had a librarian that went to their school to work with them. So collaboration sounds like a good idea there.
Oh, that's so great to hear. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that sounds like an excellent note to end on since we are right at 5 o'clock. So thank you very much to Kibret from Girls Who Code for presenting, and I'm sure we'll have some libraries in touch with you after the fact. Thank you very much to everyone who's hung in until 5 p.m. today for the conference. Please be sure to come back tomorrow at 1 p.m. and we're going to do it all again. And have a good evening, everyone. Bye.